I do not know where to start. I just keep standing here and staring and not really picking up anything and not getting anywhere.
Hello everybody, welcome to Diamonds from the Rough. That clip was from when all of my household goods arrived in Germany from the States, and what I had shipped to me was all my broken down furniture that was in storage. This desk got to be the lucky #1 piece that I made over here from my home stash. I bought this piece at a garage sale for $10, and one might argue that maybe I overpaid. It was in terrible shape. It's a waterfall dresser, probably from the 30s, 40s, 50s time frame. On top here, I just scraped because it came off so easily. I just used my carbide scraper and got all that old finish off. But underneath, it's not beautiful.
And this is why we don't necessarily just stain, because the wood underneath is not always beautiful on this age of piece. It's often pretty cheap. It looks like somebody used a couple of these drawer fronts like pin cushions, just chock full of holes. It doesn't go all the way through, and it just looks like somebody like stabbed pins into it. And then that's the impression left by the hardware. So I am going to fill all this with some wood fill, and that will give me a clean surface to work on.
Fast forward, everything's filled, everything's cleaned, everything's scraped. Moving on. Now we're to the drawers, and I do not know what they were thinking when they put these ridiculous stickers on every square inch inside here. They were so stuck down, and the plastic was brittle, so they were just breaking or coming off in chunks. As you see in the corner, it would just split. Yeah, and they were really careful about it too. You see the grid marks they put down before they laid these stickers, so this was an intentional decision. I don't get it. Next was the damage that couldn't simply be wood-filled. Water damage had already split the veneer from the base layer of wood, and even that base layer was starting to split and splinter. So my solution was to use a trim piece from CeCe Restyled's Redesign With Prima molds, and that fit perfectly over the damage. Once I realized that these proportions worked so well, I based my design completely off of the CeCe Restyled Redesign With Prima line because she had so many products that coordinated. This is her lace. I always think of this as the RBG pattern because it looks like her little collars. And here you're probably wondering, I thought you said you weren't going to wood fill these cracks because they're too big. Yes and no. They were too big to actually look good as just a filled part, but I needed a flat surface to adhere my mold to. While I waited for the filler to completely dry, I filled in the Art Deco Stencil with a very light wood fill material. I could have used spackle, I could have used any number of things, but I decided to use a dark colored, in this case it's black, wood fill because I wanted it to A, dry very quickly, also dry dark because the color I was going to put over it, I didn't want to have to fight to color bright white. You see I'm laying my spatula almost completely parallel to the stencil itself because I don't want to shove any of that material underneath the stencil. Flat and then very, very lightly once it's on there, taking off the excess is the best way to prevent it from seeping underneath there. And the moment of truth, lifting it off while it's still wet and revealing what's left behind. This came out so, so beautifully. Once everything was dry on top, it was safe to start playing around with my molds. So I put on some of that Tight Bond Quick and Thick, liberally spread it all across the back of this mold. I wanted to make sure there was glue on every part of it because I didn't want anything to catch and flip off. I also made very sure that none of the details hung below the border of the bottom because you see those little slider feet, which I did replace. It wasn't going to give a lot of clearance. Once the mold was glued and clamped into place as tight as I could get it, anything that seeped out, I used a wet natural bristle brush to remove the excess glue. If you follow my channel, you might already know that I absolutely hate doing voiceovers, and you might wonder, why is she doing a voiceover on this video? Well, here's the reason. I was listening to music, I was singing, and if I play any of it, I'm probably going to get a ding from the YouTube police. So just imagine that right now I sound exactly like Janis Joplin, hence the voiceover. You're welcome. Back to the makeover. Let me show you how I adjusted the length of the molds because they were just a little bit too long. Since I don't have access to my full garage, I clamped down freshly made molds to a block of wood, and then I used my Japanese saw to just cut through while it was still soft, and then it fit perfectly in my drawer fronts. We are finally to color. Yeah, look at that purple. This is a color that is no longer being made, so I'm sorry if you love it. It is the Sweetheart Collection by Quita from the I Love Hue line. It is in the color Huckleberry. Just look at how that paint glides on. I miss that paint so much. I love it. I actually ended up using the entire rest of the jar that I had on this project, so at least it went to a good cause. Let's do a brief moment of appreciation for Dean Winchester. Thank you. Sorry about that. Anyway, the coverage on this paint is amazing. I didn't have to dip back into the jar, but I really got a lot of good coverage on that first coat. No, your eyes are not playing tricks on you. It did look a lot more like a mulberry when I first painted it on, and it comes out far more purple once it dries down. And now it's time to get the sides prepped. I had to wait for all the mud to dry and then sand it down as smooth as possible. The more material you have on there, the more it's going to suck up paint. So I wanted to keep it a very light coat. The star of this show is going to be CeCe Restyled's Sweet Dreaming transfer from Redesign with Prima. And I will link that in the description. Moving on to the drawers, I decided they needed something completely different, anything but a flat front. To give it some visual texture, I made a grid with painter's tape, and then I smoothed it down really hard with my fingers and painted it over with a clear top coat, which seals in the edges and will ensure that I have crisp stripes when I paint on a color here. Like so. This is one coat of a different shade of purple. I wanted to make sure I had two coats because I want full coverage and I want those stripes to be nice and bright. And I always go in the direction of the paint line, also preventing any seepage underneath the tape. This is for all you tape peeling lovers out there. Enjoy. I love a good tape peel. And I didn't forget the insides of the drawers. They got the treatment too. The original drawer stops. They were shaped like an M, like a nail bent like an M. And what that did was dig holes into the bottom of the drawer. So I was trying to figure out how to order drawer stops, and I cannot find them anywhere in Germany on Amazon. I talked to my husband last night and he said, well, can you just put a block of wood? Yes, I can. However, I don't have a block of wood. I have these though, but here's the problem, just to make sure we all know what I'm talking about. Obviously I need a drawer stop or the drawer goes way too far. I've already done this once right here, and it worked, so I thought I'd try filming it the second time. I measured just in general, how wide is this? And then also, do I have a lip? Because if I were to put a block of wood here and I can't get the drawer in over the block of wood, it wouldn't work. But since I have a space of about 3/4 of an inch and also about an inch worth of wood that I have to clear, I know I can put it 4 sticks high about there. And I'm gonna make my own little wood block. I just wrapped the tape on here. And then I did that in a couple of places to make sure it doesn't wiggle. This is not an engineering feat that's like super important to get it exact. Now at least my sticks will stay together and they're not falling. Measuring back from here, I can see that basically right where I put the tape
That was not on purpose, but it worked. That's where I need to line up. Okay, so I put the tape down here. Now I know that my sticks need to be there. It's exactly where the original M's were. And now I have to secure them in place. I'm pushing down on it in the middle, and then just like pushing down on the tape like in front. I'm not making it have a gap. I push it right where it's supposed to be. Got my handy dandy Ryobi. Nail it down. There. Now it's smooth across. I'm gonna take my carefully marked drawer, number 4 in there, and the inside says number 4 on the side of the drawer, so I know that I'm in the right space because I checked before I started painting everything. I want to make sure that all my stripes and everything went exactly right. And look at that, it is 100% flush. Ta-da! Drawer stop. Thanks, husband. To finish off the piece, I added the rest of the transfer on top. I used Taglewood Sue's shifting waxes to highlight the stencil that I had put on the sides, and I added Undead Hardware to the drawer fronts.